Hey everyone, Emily here and welcome to my kitchen. Some of the recipes that I see online the most are those viral recipes for the puff pastry hacks, especially the ones where you make that really pretty star with whatever filling you like. I'll pop one up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. This had me thinking there are so many puff pastry recipes that seem super easy to make, so I thought I would try a few of those today and see how they turned out. Let's get started. I'm gonna get started with the recipe that I've been most curious to try, and that's the one for that really pretty star-shaped pastry. I'm gonna open up 2 packages of puff pastry sheets. I just got these in the freezer section of my grocery store and let these thaw in the refrigerator overnight. So you'll carefully unroll these, and you don't want to handle them too much, so keep them in the refrigerator until you are just about ready to use them. And this is going to be really the most time-consuming one because puff pastry sheets come in rectangles and we need to make these into a circular shape. So to get an even circle, I'm going to place these on top of each other and hopefully find a bowl or a plate that's a decent shape for these. So let me see if I can find something to trace. This plate is definitely a little bit too small, but I'm just going to use it as a general guide and try and cut a fairly even circle out of these 2 puff pastry sheets. I am going to be kind of twisting the edges of this, so if it's not perfectly even, it's probably not going to be the end of the world. It's probably going to still look really nice. I'm going to line a baking sheet with some parchment paper and just cut it to size so that I don't have any wrinkling on the edges. That's going to help my puff pastry lie nice and flat. And then I'll transfer this to my lined baking sheet. I'll just remove the top circle from this so that I can add in the filling, and I'm gonna be using some raspberry jam, but you can use whatever you want. Nutella sounds really good, any flavored jam, even a cream cheese mixture, that would all work perfectly fine here. I'm not going to measure this, and I think that how much you add is really going to depend on the size of your puff pastry circle. But I am gonna do a nice even coating, fairly thick but not too thick, of this jam all the way to the edges. All right, this looks perfect, and I'm going to top this with my second circle of puff pastry. And now we're gonna move on to the fun part, and that is cutting this and turning it into a really pretty star. So as a guide, I'm going to place a glass right in the center of this and cut this into quadrants. In order to get that nice star shape, you have to do even numbers of cuts. So you can't have an odd number or it's gonna end up looking a little funny. So be really methodical with how you cut this. I'm going to cut each quadrant in half. And then cut each of those in half. Perfect. Now I'm going to take 2 pieces that are right next to each other and twist these in opposite directions. So in this case, I'm going to twist them toward each other. I'll do maybe 1 more twist on those. No, 2 twists seems fine. And I'm going to repeat that with each 2 sections. So I'm going to twist these toward each other and work my way all the way around until I've twisted each section. This already looks so pretty, and this would be a fantastic little breakfast idea if you had some people over. So easy to throw together as well. The last step to this is to do an egg wash so it looks really pretty when it comes out of the oven. I'm just going to crack 1 egg into a small bowl, add in a splash of water, and beat this up. You could also use a little bit of heavy cream if you have it instead of the egg wash, and that would work just fine. I'll brush this right over the top. This will make it nice and glossy and golden brown so it doesn't have that dry look that pastry can have if you don't do an egg wash. So if you're wondering why yours never come out quite as pretty, because you're not doing an egg wash at the end. This is all set and ready for the oven. I have my oven heated to 375 degrees, and pretty much every recipe I see online has somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 25 minutes. So I'm gonna start off with 15 minutes, see how it's going, and I'll let you know how long it ends up taking. For this next puff pastry hack, I'm going to be making 2 different types of puff pastry pinwheels. And you can also make these whatever flavor you want. And these would be fantastic and super easy to bring as like an appetizer for a party or a potluck, or if you just want to make a little easy snack at home. So I'll start off by opening up one of my puff pastry rectangles. And already this is easier right off the bat because we don't need to turn this into a circle. The rectangle shape is going to work perfectly. I'm gonna be doing 2 different flavors. I'm gonna make a pizza flavored one, and I thought I would do a spinach artichoke one. And hopefully these come out great. So I'll start by kind of spreading out a little bit of pizza sauce onto the top of this puff pastry sheet. This I'm going to do a fairly thin layer because I don't want it to squish out too much when I roll this up. On top of that, I'm going to do a nice layer of shredded mozzarella cheese. Get that right up to the edges. And then I still have some basil growing in the window, so I'm gonna pull off a little bit of that and scatter it over the top. I'll just kind of scatter these throughout. And then I'm going to carefully roll this up. Now you'll notice we have long ends and we have short ends, and I am rolling along the longer end. And just as I get to this edge, I am gonna add a little bit of my egg wash here to hopefully help the outer part of the swirl kind of stick to itself so I don't wind up with a funny shape when this starts to puff out. It all stays together. This is going to need to stay cold so I can slice it. So I'm going to transfer this to a baking sheet and pop it into the freezer for a few minutes while I work on the other one. I have my second roll of puff pastry all rolled out, and I'm going to get started working on the second set of pinwheels. And for this one, I'm going to do a spinach artichoke flavor, and I'm just gonna use a pre-made dip for it. This is one of my favorite spinach artichoke dips. That's just super easy. It's from Trader Joe's. Use whatever you want. You can make your own. I've just opened this up, and I'm going to repeat the process. And I'm going to go a little heavier than I did with the pizza sauce because this has just a thicker consistency and it's not going to easily run out of the puff pastry. With these little pinwheels, you can really make them however you want. So if there's a different dip you like or a different flavor combination you want to try, maybe throwing in some sliced ham and Swiss, whatever, that would all be super easy to do. All you have to do is layer it on there and then roll it up. I'm gonna roll up this one here. Again, when I get to the edge of this, I'm just gonna add a little egg wash to hopefully help it stick to itself. And then I'll pop this in the freezer with the other one to set up before we slice and bake them. I just popped this out of the oven. I'll get you a look at it. And this took 20 minutes. This is nice and golden brown. I'm gonna set this aside to cool, and we're gonna get started working on our pinwheels. Those are ready to cut and come out of the freezer. For these, I've turned the oven up to 400 degrees, and I'm going to just give these a nice even slice. I'll trim off that little edge there. And I'll cut these maybe somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. They're looking so nice. It's important that you freeze these before you slice them. Puff pastry is just better when you bake it cold. It's gonna help it keep its shape. But with these especially, it's going to help them from squishing when you cut these, since they have a filling to them. I gave those a quick egg wash and popped them into the oven for 15 minutes. I'm going to let those bake and finish slicing up the remainder of these. I'll put these back into the freezer or refrigerator to hang out while the other batches bake. And pretty soon, I think I should have a nice kind of array of appetizers here. These look like they're gonna turn out really good. I just took my second batch out of the oven, and these smell amazing. Everything has come out so beautifully. So let's set these down, get this all plated up, and give it a try. These are my spinach artichoke ones, and they look amazing. I have my little pizza ones already sitting on this plate, and they've cooled off a little bit. These have puffed up so nicely. They're nice and golden brown. They smell amazing, they look great, and they were so easy to put together. So this would be such a simple and pretty impressive appetizer to put together. And now to finish this off, I'm just going to dust my pretty star-shaped pastry with a little bit of powdered sugar. And if you don't have, something to dust with, I'm just using a little tea strainer. These work perfect, so if you can just use whatever you have around the house. It's kind of a nice, easy little thing, so you don't have to go out and buy something separate just to dust powdered sugar. These look beautiful, and now it's time to give them a try. I'm most curious to see how these little pinwheels turned out, so I'm going to try one of the spinach artichoke ones. As expected, I mean, how could this turn out bad? These came out amazing. It's so easy to throw together. All you need is puff pastry and your favorite dip or whatever fillings you want to throw together, and you have a really quick and easy appetizer, and I'll definitely be making these again. And then this came out so pretty. I would definitely make this if I had some people over, maybe for brunch or just around Christmas time for a cute little holiday treat. I think that these are really good puff pastry hacks, and I can see why I see them all over the internet. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you can get notified every single time I post. As always, you can find the full recipe to this in the description box down below, along with links to all my social media pages and my Amazon page where you can find all my cooking favorites. If you try this recipe, or if you have a suggestion for something I should try next, leave that down in the comments section below. Hope to see you back here next time.